This is the Brevard Museum of History and Natural Science. It is located in Cocoa, Florida. It was established in 1973. They have an excellent collection of prehistoric animal skeletons, and on the Wendover Bog from in the Titusville area, they have an excellent exhibit there. So we're going to go on inside and we're going to check it out. So come join us. This is the giant ground sloth. And this was unearthed here in Brevard County, Cocoa, Melbourne area. This is the American mastodon, also discovered here near Cocoa. This is the saber-toothed cat. Those teeth are outrageous. And these are the jaws of a megalodon, approximately 60 feet long. It could chop up a whale. King of the sea back in the prehistoric times. This is a replica of a saber-toothed cat skull. This is a wolf skull. This is the jaw fragment of a mastodon. Another mastodon jaw. And the piece of a mastodon tusk. And this is a fiberglass rendering of a jawbone of a mastodon. Mastodon tusk. A whalebone fossil. Jaw of a bison. An assortment of mammoth teeth. And this is a mammoth tooth. It says feel free to touch the mammoth tooth. And another mammoth fossil. And this is a whalebone. This is an extremely large fossil. Take a closer look at it. This is some pottery from the Malabar II period of about 1,000 years ago. The ceramic arc. And they use these charts to determine the diameter of vessels. And some incised pottery fragments. Some ancient Indians hunting a mammoth. We are entering the exhibit on the Wendover people, whose bodies were discovered at the bottom of a bog in Titusville. So renderings of their skulls and faces have been possible. And a child sleeping in a bog under a makeshift tent. This is a casting of one of the Wendover skeletons. They date back to about 5,000 years ago. And in fact, it was so well preserved in the bog that brain tissue was discovered. Okay, so a display on how scientists interpret skeletons. What can a skeleton tell you? How can I estimate the age of a skeleton? Even estimate the size of a skeleton if you only have bone fragments. And another skull cast of one of the Wendover Bog people. And a limestone aberrator used by the Wendover people. Some more tools and atlatl associated artifacts. And this is pretty amazing. This is an incised bird bone. So some artist 5,000-6,000 years ago or longer actually carved this bird bone. Carved into the bird bone. The underside of this turtle was found buried with one of the children in the Wendover Bog. Deer antler blank. These are some recreations of some weaving patterns that were found with the Wendover people. A sample of some of the woven fabric that withstood thousands of years in a bog. So only 6 lithic stone artifacts were found in context with the Wendover site. This is a bone weaving tool, and these are some other objects that were discovered in one of the burials in the Wendover Bog. A recreation of what it was like, some of the tools that were used to dig in Wendover Bog. Excavating a charnel pond. And this is what the scene looked like back in the mid-1980s when they're excavating the bog. This is a diorama of how the Wendover Bog people may have lived thousands of years ago in eastern Florida. Another important aspect of central East Florida, the Gold Coast, is the presence of a wreckage of a Spanish treasure fleet where gold coins have washed up on shore or are still sitting offshore in the Atlantic Ocean. Some sort of chest, possibly similar to one used for transporting treasure in the 16th century. This is a collection of Seminole dolls. A thatched hut. So, type of a one-room cabin for early pioneers. And the turpentine industry is very important to Florida. And the sap would be collected into these little buckets. Around the turn of the 20th century, this was a very important industry. And some remnants of these pots and scarrings on the tree, I think they're called cat eyes, are still visible today. This is a smudge pot that was used to prevent frost from accumulating near an orange grove, because a freeze could destroy orange crops permanently. Also part of the orange citrus industry. These are crates that we use to for the packing of the oranges. And various warehouses around Central Florida were employed for this industry. And this machine would sort the oranges. It's called a citrus sorter. A decorative drinking horns and powder horns with a measuring cup. End of the 19th century. And a Florida cracker cowman, also a major part of Florida history. And some of the clothing and the branding instruments and stirrups that we used. A Florida cracker saddle. This would be the interior of a telegraph station. Including a safe. And this is a display of a Florida schoolhouse. Including some old desks. To keep the school warm, you'd have a Franklin stove of some sort. And that is a very old globe. And an old Florida store. Including the hand-dialed cash register. Some old medicines. And other items. Flour. And of course, an old telephone. And some artifacts associated with the railroads. And a scene from a home that may have been a typical living room in Cocoa or Melbourne here in Brevard County. About 100 years ago.
Catch up to see what we're missing here.
Of course, Brevard County is home to the John F. Kennedy Space Center. A lot of space history in this county. This is the Lunar Command Module diagram. Interesting rendering of the Apollo astronauts who flew to the moon. Some landed on it. They're pictured here all together on the moon at a dig site. Of course, that never happened, but all of these men flew to the moon during the Apollo missions. And a spacecraft. And a model of the Space Shuttle Atlantis servicing the Hubble telescope. Very interesting. And this is an old telescope prior to the days of the Hubble telescope that allows us to see very deep into space like never before. And a special exhibit to space featuring several photographs of nebulas. And for the children, they have the Discovery Room, and at the control panel on her flight into space. Good luck on your voyage. And this is the butterfly garden. I see one butterfly here.